Hi everyone, happy to see you today. We're here today to speak about Jmix BPM and implementation of Jmix BPM in the area of the public services. Today we are starting, let's say, a new series of webinars which will be related to real-world use cases. So we decided to speak more about how you can implement Jmix in your use cases more and show some, let's say, real life, real world examples. And the first thing, which what we will talk today is the public service and this quite popular area where Jmix is implemented worldwide, and that's why we decided to pick this area as the first one in the series of real life use case implementation. By the way, until I have not started with the core of the presentation. Please write in the YouTube chat whether can you hear me well and where can you see me well, because we can make some adjustments. Today I'm here with our team. Igor will help me with the hosting of the webinar. So if something will go wrong, he will make some adjustments and tune up with the audio and video streaming. And we have also some members of our team in the chat to help us with questions which can appear during our today's webinar and during the demonstration. So that's why thank you all for coming. And yeah, I see that people are writing that they can hear me well and see me also well. That's great. Hopefully, this covers everyone who attended our webinar today. And everything I would ask you just to send you your hearts and flames and pluses to embarrass me and Elite because making webinars is always so crazy. So things can go quite wrong. Yeah. And hopefully this your hearts and your emotions will help us to do everything correct, to do everything right. Yeah. So let's start with the main core of the presentation. And I will ask Igor to switch to my presentation. I will start with a small presentation. That's it. I hope that you can see my PowerPoint presentation. I have few slides, so there will be no boring presentations today. So less slides than as usual. Things that I want to talk about. So first of all, a few words about housekeeping. So basically, we'll talk today about some simple things. So I can say the technical level of our today's webinar is something like beginner plus and medium minus. So that means that we will not talk about something complicated or hard. Usually, when we make something hard, some hard things, we tell about this in advance. But in any case, if something will be not clear for you, or you will detect that I'm missing something, please write down in YouTube chat, and my team will assist you and will help you to define what I'm speaking about. Maybe send some related resources. Okay, that's why please write your questions in YouTube chat. It's working. I've already detected, and thank you for shares of your emotions. Then I should also mention that today we have a workshop. That's why we will code a bit. So once again, there will be less slides, more code today. Timing. The estimation timing for the, let's say, for the core of the webinar is 60 minutes. But together with questions and answers with my blah, blah, blah in the beginning about the presentation, it can take 70 to 90 minutes. So if you have time, don't switch the webinar. Please stay till the end. If you have no such opportunity, for sure, the record will be available for you, and you can watch it wherever you want. So that's okay. But there will be no opportunity to ask the question in real time. And for sure, we always wait for your questions, because it's the most interesting thing. What's your feedback about things we are demonstrating? Yeah. Okay. And let's look a little about the goals for today. Today, we are going to build really crazy stuff. today we are going to build a series of applications which will make interactions between the website and the process-driven app built with Jmix. We will make some practice on how to store incoming public requests and persist them in your application. We'll talk about how to model a business process and connect it with persistence and with the external calls. And we'll try to make all those things run automatically. So we'll try to connect. What is the use case? What is the use case? Why we decided to organize today's webinar? The use case, as I've mentioned at the beginning, it is the public service use case. Let's say when we need to build some front end, some website where people just put their requests, and we need to get these requests on some backend and do some magic on the side of backend when some administrators or supervisors or managers need to handle these requests, process complaints, or maybe some service requests, accept some service requests, and perform some operational stuff built with BPM. And more and more often, we meet the demand that the business, which will handle these requests on the backend, they want not just some, let's say, static thing to say accept or reject, but some flexible stuff which they can customize according to their needs. So this should be a flexible thing. And how to build all this stuff with Jmix? This is the core which we are going to unbox today, to talk about today. Yeah, and for sure, I hope that we'll do it in a very short term, which will demonstrate you how Jmix can empower those use cases in your real life. Okay, and so if you get such kind of request from the business, how to cover those, how to cover all these business requirements with some certain amount of tools, and you have not a big team, so you have yourself, for example. Yes, this is what really happens quite often. You have a lot of questions, a huge amount of questions around what to do, with what to start. So first of all, should it be a static website built with PHP and some business logic inside, or should it be a single-page application built with React or Vue, and you need to build the business logic with Nuxt.js or Next.js? Should you use some BPM engine? Should it be Flowable, or should it be Camunda? Should the BPM engine implemented as a standalone or embedded in your application? How would you deploy this stuff into production? Where would you store your data, on the side of the BPM engine, or you want to build a separate backend for your data storage? How would you build a process form to make users interact with your application? So, and a lot of things, a lot of crazy things which you need to decide in the beginning. And the worst thing is that when you're alone, you need to do all this stuff by yourself. And for sure, this is where Jmix comes. This is where Jmix comes to help. And hopefully, we'll see how it helps today during our demo. But Jmix is not the only tool which we'll use today for our webinar. We will use additional tools because we need some stuff to make a website. Today we will make some preparations with the website, but shortly, because this is not the core idea of our today's webinar. Then we will we'll utilize Docker, and especially Docker Desktop, to run a local web server. Local web server will be running today with the Nginx technology, and we also use Postman to test REST API endpoints, which we'll build today for interaction, for implementing interaction between the website and our backend. So this is the scope of the technologies which we'll use today. If you're not familiar with something, you can just Google it. If not, please listen to the webinar. I will speak about those things in details. Elite. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so since that we can go, and the first thing we need to do is we need to make a website. So we need to make a website. As I already mentioned, today we will play with the use case around art gallery. We need to digitalize an art gallery event. So we need to get to receive requests from potential artists who want to show their piece of works. and we need to build an application where an art gallery supervisor will accept those requests, approve them or reject according to the general policies and to their feeling of beauty. So that's the thing which we are going to build. And the first thing is the website. How to build a website in the easiest way. Yeah, and here we'll start with the first tool I'm going to introduce. It's Grapes.js. Grapes.js is a great tech which is presented and built by a wonderful guy called Artur Arseniev. He's the CTO of this project. I've also invited him today to listen to our webinar, and if he is in the chat, you can even ask him questions about what's that, how to use it. And we are as Jmix team and for the former name Cuba platform, work with Grapes.js for a long time. We had a special Grapes.js add-on in Cuba platform especially. And why do we love this thing? We love this tech really because it helps to make templates of your websites and get HTML ready without diving too deep in this HTML stuff and CSS stuff. And what we love most is that it allows to do that with drag and drop designer. So you can just design things and just set different parts and look how it can how can this operate. Yeah, and I've made some work in advance. Please don't hate me for my awesome design. I tried to do some registration form with this wonderful tool. But I've tried to make it quite simple, quite straightforward, because we are not talking about design today. We are talking about how to build stuff, how to build things, connect them together, and make them work. Yeah, so this is the idea of today's webinar. But at least I'm not a web designer, but I can use this tool because this tool, first of all, gives me the WYSIWYG designer, which allows me to view how my web page will look like. I can navigate through all the elements of my HTML here and interact with their properties. So you can see that the properties of all the elements are shown here. And I also got in the left corner the outline of my website. I can navigate here also. And what I love most, I can duplicate stuff, not to rewrite all the styles between the elements. Yeah, so I can also add new elements and just drag and drop them to the Canva. This is also quite helpful not to remember all the HTML tags, how to manipulate them. And what I love most, I can make a preview of this website. I can make some manipulations with the code, so I get all the code right here. I see some CSS, which will automatically generated by Grapes.js, and I can interact with the HTML layout itself, so I can see here are some labels, input fields, and I've also put here manually a script. And a script built with JavaScript, a small script which I built together with ChatGPT, which calls the endpoint, which is still not prepared. It's a local host, REST services public create, and puts inside this request the fields which I declared already on the HTML Canva, and which I will put some inputs. Yes, I'll make some inputs about the name, email, and portfolio of the person, of an artist who want to request the attendee, the participants inside this art gallery event. So yeah, that's it. This is the first thing. The next thing which I can do here is that I can just export all this stuff, yeah, and get it locally. So I can just open it locally. Here it is. I can. You can take a look. Just a moment. Switch here. That's it. So you can take a look. If you unzip this package, you will get the CSS file, some dependencies from the Grapes.js framework, and the index file, which represents the website as it is. Yeah, and I should also mention that Grapes.js is open source, so you can also embed this wonderful tool inside your project, inside your products, and this will allow your end users work with this wonderful tool in runtime also, so they can just design websites. And we are in Jmix, we are going to use this stuff in Jmix also, especially for email templating, when you need to prepare some perfect HTML layout for your email. So, okay, we've got some website stuff, but we need to get this running. How to get this thing running? We need a web server, because the web server needs to look at this HTML file, run it, and we need to get some interaction with it. How to do that? Yeah, okay. In order to do this, I do recommend to follow the official Docker documentation about the web server deployment. Now, today we will use Nginx web server, run it locally in the Docker container, and to do this, I will follow this short manual. I will just put some comments and put the website inside this web server to allow my backend interact with this website which I've already prepared. And to do this, I will go to the Docker desktop. I have already Docker desktop installed on my laptop, and make some comments. So you can follow me next time, or maybe you already know this stuff, but I'm going to show the overall sequence of making this stuff for those who looks at these things from the first time. So first of all, we need to pull the image of the Nginx to your local Docker desktop. And click enter, but I won't do that because I've already saved your time and I've downloaded the Nginx image in my local Docker desktop, so I can easily run it. In order to run it, you need to put a command. I will not write it in order not to make mistake. I will just copy paste. This is the command: docker run it remove pass some data, set the port mappings. So this command says that we need to map internal default port of the Nginx web server to the output port 8181. This is the name of the container which we want to run, and this is the name of the image we want to run. So let's run it. Yeah, it's done. So it looks like the container with the web server is working. So let's test. Let's go to the Chrome web browser and check. Yeah, it says welcome to Nginx, and the web server is running on my local machine. Let's stop the container because we don't need just empty web server. We need to put our website somehow. And this is also not a rocket science, because inside this wonderful tutorial, you can find that Nginx server has the wonderful option. It has a public directory that allows us to put there the website code, our HTML code, for example, and Nginx server, without any additional configurations, will run it. But the question is how to connect, so how to put our website inside this Nginx server. And to do so, we can use some special feature of Docker. So we can mount the local directory and connect it with and map it to the directory inside the container. And here you can see the command which does this wonderful thing. So I need to make some additional preparations. I've already done them. I've made locally on my laptop the folder named Grapes.js. Inside Grapes.js folder, I made a subfolder, site content, and I've put the Grapes.js project, which I've downloaded from the web templating tool, from the web templating studio. So, and basically I can run the command of mounting the local directory to the server. That's it. So here you can see that the beginning of the command is almost the same. Then it goes the tag -v, and then I attach the local directory to the directory in the container with the image Nginx. So let's try to do it. That looks like it runs. I see in the dashboard of Docker Desktop that the web server is running, and if I inspect the details, I will see that I have the bind mount. Yeah, so I see that it mounted successfully the local directory to this container, to this directory. So let's check whether it works in our browser. Wow, it works. Yeah, that's great. So we just finished with publishing the web page to the local web server, and now we can start with building the backend. For the backend, I will use Jmix for sure. I've prepared some primary setup in Jmix. So this is the Jmix Studio. You can see it on my screen. And what I've already done to make our today's webinar and demonstration shorter, I've made some preparements. The first thing is that I've installed two add-ons which we'll use today. This is the BPM add-on and the REST API add-on. Those add-ons will help us to assemble all the parts. Then I've made one entity called public request. This entity will be used today for storing the request data and interact with the business processes which we'll use today. So here you can see some basic attributes like name, email, and portfolio. They are almost the same demonstrated here. Yeah, and the decision and status. There's some internal attributes to make the supervisor or the user interact and put some decisions about the request coming from the website. Yeah, then I've made some views to work with this entity. This is the list view, the list of requests, and the detail view. Yeah, and I made some adjustments to the main menu. So basically, that's all. So the first thing which I need to explain, not to explain, but to highlight, is that basically we need to define how this front end with the website will interact with the backend, from what user, how we will identify this user. And the answer is no way. No way. So the reason is that Jmix allows us to interact with anonymous users. If we'll take a look at the database user repository file, we can detect that basically when we launch the application, two system users are initiated. The first one is the system user, which has by default full access role, which also defined which is also defined in the blank project, in the Jmix blank project. This is full access role. But it also initializes the anonymous user, so the user which is, let's say, which can be used for anonymous access, for anonymous requests. And this is exactly the feature which we'll use today. And for sure, anonymous user has no permissions by default, and we will configure them a little bit slightly during our today's presentation. Okay, so this is our let's say initial setup. And we need to proceed and make a REST controller to make things connected. Before starting with the REST controller, I want to highlight one thing, that there are basically three options to create a REST controller inside Jmix application. The first one is traditional for, let's say, Spring way. So you can build the Java file or the Java class, annotate with the REST controller, like the get mapping, post mapping annotations, and do everything as, let's say, Spring recommends to do. But we have some shorter ways, even two ways. The second way is mapping, let's say, your services which should be public in a special file located in your project repository called REST services XML, where you can point out which services annotated with service inside your project can be mapped outside. So for the REST exposure. And the way which we'll use today is also quite simple. It replaces the typical Spring way with smaller and more compact annotations, REST service and REST method, and I will demonstrate how to work with them today. By the way, recently our developer advocate posted a video related to this stuff. You can find it on our YouTube channel, and that get acquainted with the differences between them, because Amir highlighted all this stuff. So let's build a REST controller to make all things connected. First of all, we will go to the project. And yeah, by the way, I've also made a package in the project tree named service, because I will put all the services, especially REST controller service, inside this package. So this was done in advance. So let's start. First, we should do and use Spring Bean and choose this package for our Spring Bean, this service package. That's it. Okay, and name this service as public service. That's it. So done. Then we need to replace the component annotation with annotation demonstrating that it will be a REST controller. That's it. So this we don't need anymore. Yeah. Now we have a REST controller called public service, and we need to assign the role to it, and the role to it will be public. Yeah. Then we need to declare some structure to store the response. So store the data which is coming when we call this REST API endpoint. For this, we will declare a record called request, and set 3 parameters: string name, string email, and string portfolio. These are parameters which we are going to store, inside, which we are going to store as a where we are going to place the data which is coming to our REST controller. Thanks God, records appear, so we don't need to write a huge Pojo class, because record is also a mutable and serializable class in Java, and it perfectly fits the needs of such kind of a use case when we need to store some data and to put it somewhere. Then let's declare the method of our REST controller. I won't write it, I will just copy paste to save you time. That's it. This is the method create, which gets the request declared as this request record. And it does practically nothing. It just processes it and puts gets some data out of this request and shows it in the terminal in the system stream. But we need to do some housekeeping, because I haven't declared this structure for service response, which will store the service response. I will use my customized service response for our today's needs. I will declare it here. So this is almost also the record which will store the data. This will be the result. And this will be the response message. Yeah, that's it. So now it's the service response. For some reasons, it doesn't catch it. Let's reopen. It's happening. Sorry for that. Now it works. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are catching the request from the external, let's say, medium, from the external website. Put some message based on the data received from the external REST API, and just write it. Yeah, so that's basically everything we do. So let's try to launch it. But before we are going to launch it, we need, I forgot one more stuff. I forgot to write here the REST method annotation, because without it, it won't understand that this is the method. Yeah, that's it. Done. So you may see that I've added two annotations. Those annotations are working with the REST API add-on, and assign that this service is a REST controller with the role public, and this is the method create. Yeah? Okay, so now we need to do something with security, because I've mentioned in the beginning that by default everything for anonymous user which will access this application is forbidden, so nothing allowed. To allow the anonymous user to access our controller, we need to do some manipulations with the application properties file and with the security configuration. First of all, we need to add here 2 lines of code. I will copy paste. Yeah, that's it. This is the this line introduces the anonymous URL patterns, and here I say that everything which lays inside this road REST services public is allowed for anonymous access. And finally, I need to configure the security configuration file to allow anonymous user also access this REST API endpoint. So I go to the security configuration file. I have some prepared set of code here, and I need to copy paste here as some code, which allows me to, which will allow to access the anonymous user. So I will do importing to make everything running. Security works. Yeah, that's it. This method implements the security filter chain concept, which lays inside the Spring Security. And you may know that Jmix Security is based on this Spring Security capabilities. I won't dive too much inside this area, but I will recommend you to look at the Jmix documentation where you can find all the instructions how to work with public endpoints. So I didn't invent this part of code. I'll just get it out of here. So here we can see the recommendation to assign your configuration file for the Jmix project to allow anonymous users access your application. Yeah, so that is done. I will also tell you that soon we will organize a dedicated webinar, which will be handled by Dmitry, and he will prepare resources especially dedicated to Spring Security and Jmix Security capabilities. Okay, so basically we've made all configurations, and let's launch our backend and check whether it can be accessed from the external resource. So we've made a REST controller, we've made a REST method, we've made some security configurations in application properties and in the security configuration file to allow anonymous users access this application. So basically it should work. And we also made some few structures to store the data coming from the external resource. By the way, if you will meet some difficulties with operating this backend, please check this line in the application properties file. This is the level of login of the Spring Security Framework, and by default is set to info, so you get minimum information inside your terminal. But you can switch it to debug or trace and get full info about what's happening inside. Yeah, that's it. By the way, looks that it is building, and soon I will get the information that it's done. Yeah, I see that it is running on the local host 8080. By the way, you can detect that I've made different ports for the web server and for the backend. For the backend, I've set 8080. If you forgot, you can change these settings in the project properties file. Here in the service settings, you can change the server port or add the additional path for your Jmix application running for your Jmix application. Yeah, so it's running our gallery. It is accessible via UI, and let's check. Yeah, it's running. Yeah, it's running. This is the public requests, which I've mentioned already. They are working. Let's check whether I can access this backend via the Postman. I have a Postman tool running also here beside, and I've prepared some template for sending the request to my backend. This is my backend URL. This is the post comment, and this is the body, which I want to post to my backend. This is John Doe with some information. So let's click send and check whether it works. Yeah, it says that service method not found, public create request. Something run bad. Now let's check what am I missing? Just a moment. REST service public. I've put the REST method. REST controller. Sorry for that. I've used the REST controller annotation, which is used for typical Spring Boot scenario. I need to relaunch. Sorry for that. Okay, hopefully this will run, and before it is launched, I want also to highlight that dedicated instructions on how to build the REST controller and to invoke the some business logic via REST API using our generic REST add-on. You can find in our documentation also. So you can find in the documentation in the REST API folder the business logic subfolder, and there is a special section called invoking a service via post. And here you can see the code example of making all things with curl strings, how to call this REST API endpoint. By the way, I've fixed it, the REST service annotation. I hope this will execute. Waiting for the project to be launched. Just a second. Yeah, and it's done. Okay, so let's try once again. Hopefully it's running. I get the result as true, and I set the true by default, as you can mention here, and I get the request name, so it's John Doe here. It's running. Okay, at least we've built the REST controller, the basic REST controller, and we've made a security configuration, so we've made it running. Okay, can we check whether it can be done also via the web server? Let's check. Let's go to the web server running and add the data here. Some sort of data. Yeah, it says that it runs successfully. That's great. That's great. So it means that, and I see the message in the terminal that it successfully got the request from the web server. So we've got a web server and the backend connected, and they are running. And that almost means that we've made the first goal for today. We make the interaction between the website and the backend app. And now we can go further. The next step for today is to store the data coming from the external resource, from the website. To store the data, we have already prepared this public request. So we need to get the data out of here and send it and persist it as a public request in our project. To do so, we will make a new service. Let's make a new service. Again, I will put it in the service package. That's it. I will call it data service. That's it. Done. I will change the default annotation to service. And that's it. And I will put the method create public request inside. That's it. Here I need to import some dependencies, and I see that it cannot allocate data manager, so I will just inject it. Almost here. So yeah, what's happening here? You can see that here I've made a method which accepts some fields, typed fields. They are all type stream. And using the data manager, this is the high-level API inside Jmix, which helps us to manipulate with data. I create a new instance of the public request and set the attributes of this entity with the parameters which I accept from external call. And finally, I save this new public request. I would like to pay attention to this common unconstrained parameter, unconstrained function, which not function, but interface, which I call here. It allows me to make the manipulations with data manager, avoiding internal security restrictions. I've mentioned already that when we are talking about anonymous user, nothing allowed to him. Yeah, so all actions are forbidden. And to avoid this restriction, I put this unconstrained method here to pass this check and create the instance of the public request by the anonymous user. This is not the regular way. I will also explain further that you can set dedicated permissions even to anonymous user, but to save our time today, I will use the unconstrained method for that. So then what should I do? I need to go to the public service and replace the system out println just with the line which will call the data service and create create public request method. To do so, I will use the injection. This is the data service. Yes, I will call the create public request and pass all the parameters inside. Request name, request email, and request portfolio. That's it. And doing so, we split the logic operating with the persistence in a separate service with the controller service, with the REST controller service. This allows us to check additionally the parameters which we accept in the REST controller. So I can put myself a reminder that here I need to make some validations of parameters which I accept from the external service. So I can check whether they are null or not. For example, if you accept the data typed data or the date time, so you need to check whether it's too late or too early. So everything which is related to validation of the consumed data can be done here instead of passing them inside the create public request, because it just persists the data. And the final thing which we will do is we will make a next step and create an event listener, which will automatically automatically fire an event, which will help us to start a BPM process on the next step. I will create an event called entity saving event. It will be done automatically by Jmix Studio, thanks God. And here inside, I will put some code which will check whether the event is fired for the new event, for the new entity or not. We have a special method for that. Yeah, I'll check whether it's a new entity or not, and I will put some code just to write that the public request was created or not. So we've done several additional business logic files which are used to store the data and for an event about the storing of a new public request. Let's relaunch our application and test it whether it is working as we expected it should work. By the way, while it is building, I hope it will be done successfully. I will show you the part of the documentation which describes how to configure the anonymous REST role to allow it to manipulate with the entities. In Jmix REST, in Jmix generic REST API, we allow also to get some basic entity CRUD operations out of the box. So they appear out of the box when you install the generic REST API. So you can access entities, you can fetch new instances, you can query new instances, and all this stuff can also be done via the anonymous user. And to configure it properly, you need to set permissions on top of your entities, and you can do it according to the instructions which are described in the access control section, especially for anonymous related to anonymous access. So let's go here. I see that the local host is running, so that means that my backend is running already, and I want to check whether it will happen, because I need to go to my application. I will close excessive folders. Yeah, I will go to admin. I see that there are no public requests here. Yeah, I will check it with Postman. I will post the John Doe record again successfully. Open the backend, refresh. Yeah, successfully. I see that the data coming from the external resource appeared in my application, and it was persisted successfully with the default status. So it seems that we've connected the front end and the back end, and we made it to store the incoming request. Now we need to configure the business process to make it up and running according to the business requirements, according to the business needs. To do so, I've prepared some blank BPM model inside my project template. Close this. Yeah. I will also collapse some things which are not which we do not need right now, and I will go to the BPM section. Just after you have installed the BPM add-on inside your Jmix project, a new section inside the Jmix hierarchy tree appears called BPM. And I've prepared some blank draft BPM draft to make it alive today. I will open it right now. Here you can see some basic business process, which we will start today with as a reaction on the coming REST API call. This is quite a simple business process, including the steps request registered, review public request task, an exclusive gateway, which has a happy path and it performs notification of an artist about successful approval, and it terminates with the request approved, and it has an unhappy path where we notify the artist about the rejection of his application, of his request, and terminates with the request rejected. And this is exactly the BPMN model which we will fire today as a reaction on the incoming external call and make the user interact with this process according to its business logic. To start working with this business process, I will do the following. First of all, I will copy this process to let's say, working workspace. I press the button copy, and I have this business process appeared in the next node processes. It happened that way that in Jmix we have different subnodes for process drafts. These are the processes which can be changed without deploying them into runtime, and the process subfolder or subnode where we store processes which will be automatically deployed in runtime when you press build the application. This also allows us to make changes inside this business process, and if it doesn't touches the entity data model and additional Spring Beans or some business logic, just changes in UI or some changes in business logic inside the BPMN diagram, so we can use hot deploy, not to rebuild all the project. Now I will rerun my project to double check whether this process appears in runtime and whether I can see this process in Jmix application BPM admin panel to check that it sees my process and I can make adjustments around it. Okay, while it is building and running, I will start making some adjustments around my process. First of all, by the way, all the tasks which you can see, all the items which you can see right now on the screen, they are not specified. So that means they are blank. So they are just activities. They are not user tasks, not terminations. They just activities of my BPMN diagram. And now I will try to declare what should be done inside them. Yeah. So that's the thing. Okay. First of all, what should I do? I will define the request registered event, start event. I will start with the following. I will create the process variable, and this process variable will be defined as public request. In terms of the process automation, this public request is a special process variable which declares the process entity. When we are speaking about process automation, we often talk about process entity. This is the entity which is used to store all the data around the process. This is one of the approaches, and this is the approach of this is one of the approaches inside the process automation. And this approach we'll use today. I will show you the pros and cons of this approach. So I map this process variable public request to my entity public request, and before I will make everything automatically, I will use the input dialog to declare the public request with which this business process, which will this process use for as the process variable. I will say that this process variable is required. Yeah, that's it. I will assign some business key to identify one process from another one. And I will also declare this task as a user task and define an assignee out of the process variable initiator. This is a system provided process variable which stores the data of the user. It's of type user who've launched the process. And I will create here a Jmix view to manipulate with the data on this step. And to do that, I will click create a new Jmix view. Hopefully it will appear. While it's thinking, I will switch to the application and check whether my business process diagram have been already deployed. I will go to the BPM administration panel, go to the process definitions, and yeah, look here, you can see that the process request processing version 1 is here. I can see the model in runtime. By the way, I have the business process designer in runtime also, so I can do all manipulations in runtime and click deploy to make it running. And yeah, I have no process instances, but by the way, I can launch it. So I can start the process. It will assign no tasks because they are not specified. But when I click the process instances in my admin panel, I can take a look that it is done and it passed all the activities. So you'll see that it passed all the activities declared in the BPMN diagram. So let's come back to the Jmix Studio. And I see that, unfortunately, it's stuck. So I need to do something. Sorry for that. For some reasons, it cannot create the Jmix the Jmix form. I will relaunch the Jmix the IntelliJ. Just a moment. Sorry for that. Sometimes it happens. I've just updated the IntelliJ idea today. Maybe this reason, or maybe some new updates in Jmix Studio appeared. Let's try the second time. That's it. I see the project loaded, and the ID error occurred. Okay. So that's the indexing is going on or not. Yeah, I see the project. I see that the review public request created, and I'll try my second attempt. Yeah, hopefully it's doing correct. Says that it initializes some templates, but hopefully I will see the wizard. Yeah, that's it. This is the wizard which helps me to create the Jmix view. Look, I can make two types of process forms here. Process form with process variables. I can just drag some process variables from the process and put them on the form I'm going to work with. Or I can create a process form out of the entity instance. So, and this is the exact way which I'm going to implement today to show you how I can manipulate with the process instance inside my project, inside this process. All other stuff, I will change the descriptor name. I will tell it that this is not the BPM process form, but the public request process form. That's it. Yeah, and I'll go further. Because of the reason I've defined it as the process form based on the processing, based on the entity, based on the project entity, I can connect it with my project entity. And here I see the fetch plan, which recommends me to load the attributes from this entity to represent them on the process form. I will agree with all the recommendations. Go further. If you need to add some additional process variables appearing on this step to this process form, you can do it here also. You can add a new process variable, declare the type of it, the name of it, and it will also add it to the form. So, and here I click next. And hopefully, this is the next step. It recommends me some basic outcomes for this process form. It says that I will recommend you to put a submit and reject button and assign it with this user task outcomes. This is great, definitely. And this is the name of this new view. Unfortunately, it seems that I've made a typo in the naming, but I won't fix it right now to save your time. Yeah, that's it. And I hope that this process form will be created. I will add it to Git. Yeah, and that is what we see. We see that the process form was created. It created the controller file, and what's great, it already put here all the annotation that is a process form, and it tells the outcome declaration, and it automatically put the output variable as a public request, with which I manipulate in this process form. And what's great, it also made the primary initialization of the file, so of this process form. So it automatically sets the item, getting out of the process context. It automatically writes the controller of the submit button and the reject button, and if you can see, it also saves the data context. It means that if we change something with the attributes of the entity inside the step, it will be saved automatically. So basically, all this stuff, including the data descriptor, including the process form descriptor and controller, have been done automatically. That's great. So let's come back here again, and there's a small bug here. For some reasons, it doesn't connect the created process form with the view. But when we connect it, we see that it maps all the parameters which were created in the process form, and it looks like it has been associated. And the last thing which we need to do is to declare the conditions. Just a moment. Go again to the public request. Yeah, declare the conditions. This is the default condition. I will put here the source, that the user term, review public, submit, and it goes this way. And if the user outcome reject, it goes this way. And to make it more explicit, I forgot to write the namings for these outcomes. Rejected. Yeah, that's it. So that's done. We've already tested the blank BPM process and it was running. Let's try to deploy this new version. After deploying of this new version, there were a lot of changes. We made new files of the process form. So that's why we need to totally rebuild our project. After rebuilding of this project, we'll try to launch it manually and check whether this process is running correct. And when our project will be rebuilt, we will enter the BPM admin panel and check whether a new version of the business process appeared, because we made changes. And last time we've seen that the first version of the business process was set inside our project. This time we should see the second version. Yeah, it's almost done. Hopefully I made no mistakes within the designer, and it will successfully execute it. Okay, where is my runtime? That's it. Let's get out of the application, return to something. This gallery. I have only one user, admin. First of all, let's go to the BPM panel and check the process definitions. Wow, yeah, that's correct. I see the second version. So the second version of the process have been deployed. I see that I see changes, approved, rejected, all this stuff. So basically, that means that I can run it. Actually, I have only one instance John Doe right now, and I will try to run the process and check whether a new public request will appear. Okay, yeah, let's start the process. Public request, John Doe. No, it's not about creating the new one, but it's about the processing of the existing one. Yeah, successfully. I see that the task appeared, the review public request. This is the ID of the entity. Let's enter it. Yeah, that's the screen. So it's working. Public request form. I see the John Doe, all the data coming from the process instance. So I can move, I can make changes here and click submit successfully. Let's go to the process instances and check what's happening. This is the second version of the business process. So it's done successfully. Let's check the activities. So it says that it passed the notify artist about successful approval. So it means that it passed the condition exclusive gateway. Let's look at the variables. They are all initialized. Let's go to the public request. You see that the status have been changed, approved. That's great. So that means that the business process itself is okay. So now we can connect this business process to the entity, to the public request entity change. How to do that? We'll switch back to the Jmix Studio and enter the event listener. So now let's come back to the event listener of the public request. It's very comfortable that inside the public request we see all the beans which have a reference to this entity. Let's open the event listener and replace this system.println with some useful business logic. What should be done here? So we need to launch a business process, and especially for those who are new to Jmix, it's always very boring to look inside the documentation. For these exact cases, we've got code snippets. Here we can see some basic templates which are often used for some regular operations. And you can see that, especially for BPM, we have a start process instance template here. Just click and we have a template of the code which allows us to run the process instance with instantiating the entry, the variables, the process variables. Yeah, so you can declare the process variables as a hash map and put them inside this process instance to make it run. Yeah, I will import the class of the process instance and put all the data needed to start the process correct. I put some code. Here I get the public request instance out of the event get entity, put it inside hash map. And the last thing I need to do is compose the business key and pass it inside the process instance call. So here I compose the business key out of the name and email of the public request and start the process with this business key. Please take into account that we have several definitions of this process instance by key. You can go to the declaration of the runtime service class, and you can see that there are different signatures. They're just a simple one with just a business key, with the map of the variables, with the business key and map of the variables. So you should choose one which fits you most. Yeah, that's done. So we've made an adjustment in the server business logic, and we need to rerun the application because these changes need to be applied. And after rerunning the application, what should we do? We should create a new process instance of a public request and check whether the process will be launched. Yeah, because it checks if the entity is new, and if it is new, the business process should be launched. After that, we'll go to Postman, try the same thing with Postman, and finally we'll check how it works via the web server. Yeah. There are not so many changes left, so I know that we are running out of time, and I will try to move forward faster. Hopefully we have hot deploy of the business process changes, and I will use it in future. Yeah, go back to my application, go to the public request already opened, and I will make a new public request instance. Sorry for that, I made a logout. Let's create a new instance called Boo Anderson. I don't like typos, sorry for that. gmail.com, some portfolio, no. Okay. So successfully created. If I made no mistakes, we'll find a process instance running. Boo Anderson, yeah, it's running. And if I will open my tasks, I will see the instance of the Boo Anderson public request running, and it is signed for an admin. I pushed something. Have I done? Let's check. This was not as planned. Sorry for that. Yeah, but we've tested the unhappy part because I've touched the rejection, and it passed the rejection. That's great. That's great. Okay, so via the Postman. So let's put some data via the Postman and check whether the new artist will be created. Let's check the artist called Angela. Make some changes to identify whether it's changed or not. It says that the request was successfully processed. Let's go to the public request. Angela created, so we see that it's here. And because of it's a new instance, a new process should be launched. Let's check it in the process instances. Yeah, I see that the process instance for Angela is running, and the review public request task is active. That's great. Let's go to the my tasks. I see nothing here. What's the reason? What happened? The reason is I've done the request, created the process instance, and launched the created the process instance and created the public request under the anonymous user. That's the reason. And anonymous user is not the initiator, because I've told you already that the initiator has type of user, and there is no anonymous user in the user's entity lists. Yep. We can also check this using the data tools entity inspector. When we open the public request here, you can see that some instances are created by the stored in your runtime application user anonymous. What should we do? How we can make assignments of those tasks to a certain user? We can do it easily defining, let's say, a fixed name of the user. Let's do it via the runtime designer, not too deep, not to go too much inside the Jmix Studio. Let's do it just on the fly. Let's open the modeler, get inside this review public request task, and make some changes. Let's change this assignee resource from initiator to a fixed to the fixed value admin, and redeploy. Yep, it's done. Let's go to the process definitions and check. It says that the third version already is running right now. So hopefully this version is okay. And let's check it with the Postman again. Let's put here another famous guy. And as he's American, we'll put Yahoo. For sure, he has some masterpiece. Sorry for that. Yeah, it says that Donald Trump processed successfully. Let's check in the public requests. I see the request coming from the Donald Trump. I've made a typo at last at his email. Let's go to the process instances and check whether new process instance appeared. Yeah, it's here. Let's go to the My Tasks. Yeah, it's done. So we see that it was assigned to the user admin, as I've set in runtime, and I made the customizations in runtime, and it works. And we have the last thing which we need to test. We need to test how all the same things are done via our website, which we have already deployed in the very beginning. And let's make the last guy called Benjamin. I've started to make typos more and more. Sorry for that. Should be linked in. Send request successfully. Let's go to the public request. I see Benjamin appeared here. LinkedIn. Yeah, that's it. This is a new request. Let's go to My Tasks. There's review public. Benjamin. I open. Let's approve. Say that this is fantastic. Submit. It's done. Let's go to the process instance and check whether it completed successfully. This process is completed successfully. Request approved. All the variables changed. Let's check it here. And it was approved. Yeah, it's almost done. That's great. So let's come back to our presentation. It looks that almost all this stuff has been done in an hour. So we've created a short website, but yeah, it was a tricky, I was a cheater because I made some preparations with the website, with this Grapes.js framework. So, but we deployed it. We've connected with the backend. We've made a REST controller. We've made a service to store the data coming from this REST controller. We've designed a business process. We've connected this business process to appearing of a new incoming request. And we even made some adjustments in runtime without any coding, because the BPMN modeler can be accessed also via runtime. So we've done almost all things planned for today, and this is really great. Yeah, let's go with some slide. For sure, Jmix BPM is not the silver bullet, so it doesn't fit all scenarios. But it has got some definitely beautiful advantages. First of all, it is easy to go. So you can see that almost all things which I've done today, they are defined in the documentation. And what is most attractive, recently we've got an AI assistant which will help you with some corner cases or generic questions about how things can be done in Jmix. So that's why it's very easy to step inside this technology. The second thing is that everything is super fast, because you may be detected that we have some code snippets, some special Jmix Studio tools which help us to do things fast. For example, you can remember that I've made a process form, a total process form for the user task. Just click and create in a new process form, and everything appeared automatically. So if I need to do some customization, I can do it, but the code already was generated. I've got a lot of things out of the box. Even today, we didn't touch the email sending, but this can be also done using a special Jmix add-on. If you access the marketplace, Jmix marketplace, you may find here a dedicated email add-on. Now it's freezing for some reason. I don't know what's happening. Oh, well, okay. You can find it on the website. Yeah, it's done. It's done. So it's uploaded the list of add-ons. Yeah, that's it. You can download this email add-on, and this will allow you to assign these user tasks as email sending, and you can pass the process variables inside the and configure the email sending according to the process variables, and even compose the message template and put the placeholders which will be replaced in runtime with the values of those process variables. So it's really great, and all this stuff you can use out of the box. Yeah, that's really easy. We bring runtime customizations with Jmix. So that means that almost all parts of the business process can be changed in runtime. You can make you can design new process forms generated automatically, because Jmix forms are designed only in Jmix Studio. But you can make reassignments, you can add new user tasks, and even when you want to make something complex, you can use a script task and implement a Groovy script to do some manipulations, even with the data, without entering the Jmix Studio. You can also detect that all parts are interconnected. So all parts of the Jmix backend, data, process, business process engine, diagram, everything is connected, and we can move between those parts seamlessly, because they consist in the mono repo in our single container of our application. Enterprise grade security is always working. Yeah, and I've also mentioned that I made some hacks to make the data manager unconstrained calls. But let's say this is a quick and dirty design. But for a robust design, you can assign a dedicated role for anonymous user and specify which exact entities and which exact actions can this anonymous user do inside your project. Everything is based on Java mainstream technologies. That means that even a REST controller can be done in a typical way or in more, let's say, easy way using Jmix REST API and all. And for sure, as usual, everything is open source, but it has some minuses. It has some disadvantages. First of all, the disadvantage of Jmix is that it is a monolithic design, because we've got the result of working with Jmix is a monolith. The next thing is that the UI we are working with is server-side UI. It's stateful, so it is limited in terms of the amount of users, concurrent users, which are using these applications in a moment. But for everything which is associated with internal stuff, with processing incoming public requests, that's enough. Just believe me, that's enough. Because first of all, you should check. Recently we've published Jmix performance tests. They are connected in our bookstore GitHub example. So you can just Google it and you can see how does it work, how much resources does it consume when running. And the next thing which I want to highlight is that we've tested with more than 10,000 users working with Jmix in a moment, and it works. So it works. Yeah. You need to do some manipulations with the data mostly, but everything related to UI, it works. And the disadvantage that it's Java. At last, it's Java, and you sometimes may detect that you need to run more than, for example, if you do the same in Python. But the main advantage of that is Java, that it's everything written in a standard way. So that means that everything is standardized. And this is really great because when one guy changes to another guy inside the project, it can easily open the project and understand what's happening inside, because there is no homegrown frameworks inside, and everything which is done in the next project is done according to things which are, let's say, standardized in the Java world. And that's really great, and especially great for the things associated with the public services when your, let's say, the products, that, let's say, the result of your design should come to other developers, to in-house team, for example, of your public services. End user, or to another team which should continue supporting this product, and so on. So that means, yeah, there are some minuses that, but let's say they are minor. They are minor to the use case which we've highlighted today. All other things can be done quite fast. But especially for the use cases which look more complex, which need more tech freedom, we've designed and working on a next generation project. And it's not a project already; it's a product called Open BPM, which will allow you to build big process-driven projects. The core feature of the Open BPM product is that it will allow you to work seamlessly with a standalone BPM engine. And instead of Flowable engine, which is used inside the Jmix framework and the Jmix platform, OpenBPM works primarily with Camunda. And there are a lot of tools which are associated with OpenBPM, and one of the tools is the OpenBPM Studio. This is a dedicated plugin which allows you to work with every Camunda project and use and utilize the same tools which I've showed you today. It's easy to navigate across your project because it has the OpenBPM Explorer. It's easy to design because it has an embedded BPMN designer. It's easy to build forms because it has an embedded process form designer, and it even have special components to administrate the Camunda BPM engine. And on top of that, it has an open source, free to use task list based on React technologies, working as a front-end technology template, which you can use inside your projects. And if you tend to go to the microservices architecture, to more complex scenarios, or you want to move to harder things, you can check our OpenBPM product. And to do so, you can access our website, Jmix.io. Soon you will be able to access OpenBPM website also. But now you can access Jmix.io website, go to the platform folder and check the process platform subfolder, get some information about this wonderful product. And at the end, you have, not in the end, but in the middle, you have a button called Show Me a Demo, and you can send us a request if you want to get a look at this next generation process-driven process design platform. But it doesn't mean that this product will for somehow replace Jmix. They are for different use cases. OpenBPM is more for enterprise. Jmix BPM as a dedicated add-on. This is a special, super efficient tool to build process-driven business application when you need to install BPM engine inside your application and bring it to your end user. And what's most valuable is that OpenBPM can also natively, seamlessly connect it to Jmix and use Jmix as a BPM backend, because every time we work with data in Jmix, it's always super cute because it's awesome. Yeah, it's easy to use, easy to design, and easy to maintain. So that's almost all for today. Thank you very much for listening to me. Hopefully I brought something interesting to you. If you want to go deeper inside tutorials and technologies which have been spoken today, please check the comments to our today's webinar. There we'll see the links to all the technologies I've used and the guides which I've used, especially the one which allows you to deploy the Nginx web server locally. This can be a tough thing. Yeah, no, that's all. Let me drink something. Yeah, I just want to check the chat. Okay, I see that Andre checked and saw the typo. Sorry for that, Andre. I didn't want to, I hate this definitely, but especially when we are doing webinars, you make typos. I don't know how to do that in another way. Okay, I got a question from Sardar Abdallah, and he asks, any plan to have a non-commercial license? Yeah. As I've already mentioned the OpenBPM and the OpenBPM Studio especially, this OpenBPM Studio will be absolutely free, but it doesn't allow you to work with Jmix and with Jmix BPM for free, because Jmix BPM is a commercial add-on. There are a lot of cute functionality, which definitely increases the speed of building process-driven applications. But in combination, they can allow you to be even more efficient when you build distributed systems using Camunda engine as a standalone instance. That's it. I see that Sardar Abdallah asked the question 3 times, so I don't want to answer it 3 times. I think that you've got the answer, but in case you've missed something, you can ask it still, and or you can just write us down, and we'll come to you and explain how does it work. And I see that Nikita already answered. Yeah. That's great. I see no more questions in the Jmix chat. I want to share your thoughts about, was it helpful? Should we continue doing it this way? Or maybe you want to see more tech, let's say deeper things. But if you would like to go deeper, then the use cases won't be so wide, so they won't cover all the aspects of the application development. My target today was to demonstrate how we can pass all the steps inside the sequence and to deliver some prototype for our customer and show him how things with BPM can be done. Yes, basically everything which what I've demonstrated today can be deployed to the cloud environment for sure. So you can pack this Jmix backend using build image command and make a Docker image and put it inside your virtual, inside your cloud instance on AWS or DigitalOcean whenever you want, and all of this stuff will work the same in the cloud. Hopefully, we'll make some webinar about cloud deployment in DigitalOcean soon, but I think that should happen already next year, not this year. We have a lack of time this year. Next webinar, which will organize, will be related to security issues. We see a lot of questions about manipulating with Jmix security in Jmix projects, and we want to put additional light on these features. We see a huge strength in this area, and we need to highlight how these things can be handled. And this webinar will be handled by Dmitry Ivashchenko, who is the professional trainer. So he performs trainings, he writes trainings, and he will organize this interesting stuff. Yeah, basically, I see no more questions in YouTube channel. Thank you very much for listening to me. Sorry for mistakes, typos I made during our today's web presentation. I'm very proud that almost all the moving parts of our today's project finally launched and showed us how these things can be assembled and interconnected within together. Yeah, and please use those materials for your projects. Come to us with your questions. And don't forget to use our Jmix AI assistant. That is very helpful. Don't miss a moment. It allows you 100 questions for free. It serves the content. It allows you to remember the context, so you can ask additional questions. It serves the context, and it allows you to answer in your context. And Andre asks whether OpenBPM will be connected to Camunda 7. Yes. Andre, OpenBPM will be connected to Camunda 7 by default. We know the issue that the Camunda team is dreaming to phase out Camunda in 2027. But especially for this case, we have a special offer. We are going to support this technology by our team. And even more, we are going to make this technology run in open source. We know that these things happen and they are carried out not only by our team but by other big integrators. But we want to support this great technology because, especially for transactional use cases, Camunda 7 is definitely great. I can even say that it's state of art. And as for Camunda 8, we'll also support this. So our OpenBPM Studio tool will also support Camunda 8, but not from the very first step. Camunda 7 is the first-class citizen for the next year. This will be the first technology which we will support with OpenBPM, and Camunda 8 is the second step. I know that Camunda changed the license model, and now you can use Camunda 8 only for developer purposes, but not in production time. But still, we see that people are experimenting. They are making some studies within the Camunda 8, and we don't want to, let's say, miss this point, and we want to carry efficiency into this area also. That's why OpenBPM will support Camunda 8 projects too. But we see Camunda 8 is still searching for a product market fit. They're searching for a correct license model. Instead of Camunda 7, which is, let's say, a standard for the BPM. But Jmix BPM will stay on Flowable because Flowable is, let's say, devoted to the open source with its Flowable engine to be packed inside third-party products. We see no steps to make this from Flowable to block this initiative. That's why Flowable looks awesome for use cases when you are going to build a product with the embedded BPM engine without any limitations. That's really great. And what Jmix BPM does, it makes it really fast to create such kind of a project in the same way as I've showed you today. That's it. Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you for listening. Hope you will subscribe on our channel. Receive notifications about upcoming webinars. We'll do our best to prepare new, very cool use cases. And keep connected. Develop smart, not hard. This is our new motto, which we are promoting. And this is especially the thing which Jmix brings into your life. Thank you all. See you next time. Bye.